Hey out there. About to get started. So sorry I'm being silent right now. Hold on. We're gonna start in just a second. Hey there, podcast listeners, and welcome to a kind of special edition, a version of the Principled Uncertainty podcast. I am your host and only person, Tyler. Today's going to be a quick, just pseudo review sort of talk. I thought it's the break, so I thought I'd jump on the horn and talk a little bit today. So I'm going to be talking about Alien Isolation. So if you pulled this up, then you know exactly what that is, and you'll have to forgive me. I'm coming down with something cold-ish, so I might at some point cough, and so be aware of that. I actually feel it in the back of my throat right now, and I feel like I'm gonna cough. There we go. There's one. Let's get that out of the way. Okay. I just finished Alien Isolation today, so I'm going to try to keep it pretty brief, but I'm definitely going to be talking about Alien Isolation, and I'm going to try to keep it to like 10, 15 minutes just to discuss what I liked and disliked about it. And but for the most part, I don't know. I want to say that for the most part, I liked it, but I hated the last third of that game so much. And what's weird about it is that I didn't really hate it. I didn't hate the content. I don't think it was poorly done. There are some things I definitely think were miscalculated. The pacing is way off in that game. They have no creative assembly has no idea how to pace a game like this. At least not, but judging on Alien Isolation, for me, the middle of that game is really great. The middle of that game is as good as anything that has come out this year. Once the alien shows up, there's a point, and of course there will be spoilers here because this is like a review. So if you haven't played Alien Isolation, then come back in a minute, or once you finish it in 5 years. Sorry, that was really mean. I'm sorry. I'm really angry about this game. I've got to be honest that I'm really frustrated because I just finished it minutes ago, and I have to say that I don't like the middle of that game. I think is as good as anything that's been released this year. Like I said, up to the point where you first expel the alien from the ship, and once you escape, I feel like that was a nice place to tie the loose ends. Take another couple hours and tie the loose ends. And for those of you who have played it, will recognize that part. It's the part where you escape and you've been dealing with looters, but also and survivors, but also with the alien. And so you've been balancing your time. You've dealt with some average Joes. I keep wanting to call them working Joes. And there's a point where the alien chases you and you kick it off the ship. And then this whole plot line with another guy starts up, Marlowe and all of those people. And you have another, I don't know, 7 to 10 hours of the game. And I was prepared, like once we kicked the alien off the ship, I was prepared for another 1 to 2 hours. I'd heard the game was really long. And so I was prepared to play for another couple hours and say, like, tie up the loose ends. And I would have felt great with that. That would have been such a nice coda. You've done with the alien. You're going to deal with some other stuff. Maybe the alien comes back, deal with the alien once more, and you're done. That feels like a complete experience to me. You have that's a 10-hour game. That's easily a 10-hour game. You have like 3 hours of sort of like building up the suspense. Alien shows up. You have like 5 hours with the alien, and then you have like another couple hours like finishing, tying up everything. But what ends up happening is that you end up having another 12 hours on top of the 10 hours you've already experienced. And it's not like super tense material. It doesn't deal with an alien. It deals with robots and the average Joes, the working Joes, which is fine. That is totally fine. But there's so much of it. The game has no idea when it should end. I've never said, please let the game be over more in my entire life playing a game. Please let this be the end. I'll still feel okay if this is the end. I won't be so mad at you if this is the end. And it never does. Like, it is the return of the king of video game endings. And I see what Creative Assembly was going for. I don't think it was very good. It's like when Martin Scorsese makes a really long movie, you're like, oh man, you could cut so much out of that to make it good. It's like that, but double. Like if Gangs of New York had been 7 hours long, you would have thought, holy shit, what is wrong with Martin Scorsese? You would have said, oh my God, he's lost his fucking mind. Sorry, I didn't mean to actually even curse on this. But you would have said, oh my God, he's lost his mind. And that's how I feel about Alien Isolation. Like, when that game was announced, I thought, awesome. Alien chases you. This is going to be a scary, tight experience, and you're going to be walking down corridors and hiding in things. It's going to be like Outlast, but with an alien. Boom. Perfect marriage of horror and science fiction. But what it became was, I don't even know how to criticize parts of it because so much of it is so like bizarre. It's so like weird how much of it doesn't, like how I've never played a game that has respected the player's time less than Alien Isolation. And it's not just that the game is long. Like, there are plenty of long games that feel like they value your time. There are plenty of long games that feel like a complete experience. And this game does not, to any stretch of like if a person you thought was sane came up to you and said, I thought Alien Isolation was the perfect length for a video game, walk away from them. Like that, they're a pod person. There's no way that any reasonable, sane person thought that Alien Isolation was the right length. It's tense. There are parts of it that are really super tense. There are parts of it that are really super interesting. There are parts of it that are scary. There are parts of it that feel like a great science fiction game. There are parts of it that are like have engaging story like lines, but the game as a whole just doesn't hold together. I mean, they're okay. So to get into some specifics, there's a part where you go and you're supposed to kill the nest. There's a section where once you've gone through the nest, ostensibly, that feels okay, right? Like but then you get out and like you have to deal with the working Joes. And you have to play all these mini games to do something, and that takes like there's something wrong with the pacing on it. It's just a bloated mess at parts. There are parts where the game is ramping up like, oh my God, here's the climactic music, and you're supposed to be running from things, and you're supposed to hide. You're still supposed to be like, the game wants you to hide and crawl around and stuff. And like, that's not fun or okay. That there's a point where you should be hiding in this game, and there's a point where you should be running for your life. And whoever made this game, whoever Creative Assembly decided that you should be hiding the entire time, mixed up pacing entirely. For me, like, this is all my perspective. I'm not going to say like I am the end all be all on gaming. That is not my perspective. This is just coming from a place of, I just finished this game. I really feel like it could have been done better. I do. I don't, I concede to all of the criticisms of like, well, why did you finish it? Why did you play it if you hated it that much? And truth be told, I didn't hate the majority of it. Like, I sincerely, truly loathed the last 3 hours of it. Absolutely loathed the last 3 to 4 hours of the game. Which isn't like, there are parts of the last 3 hours where I'm like, oh, this would be so good if it were 10 hours before this. Like, this is a game that if you want to like, you need to play in like 20-minute sittings for a year. Like, this is not a game that you want to like marathon through because it ruins the effect. I mean, it's really hard. You have to replay sections of it, and it's not like it doesn't mistake, like, it sometimes mistakes tedium for fun. And there are parts of the games that are there are parts that are tedious for no apparent reason other than, oh, you have to go do this now. There are a lot of like go here, go to this section. Like those of you who have played it will remember this. There's a section where you're in this game room where you have to, there's a generator that's broken. So you have to find a key card, put it into the thing, and then it opens a door. You have to walk around this hallway, and it's like a 2.5 minute journey. It's a long walk to go into this other room to flip a switch so that you can walk back to the first room to restart the generator. And this is like, this happens all the time in video games, but in this game, you're at like 22 hours at this point. This is like 22 hours into the game that you're doing this kind of nonsense. And it's the length of like a Grand Theft Auto single player experience. And the game, like, it tries to change up some of the variety because you're like, the sorts of things that you're doing is different, but it still never feels like a cohesive experience. I don't know why it was done that way. I don't know if there was pressure from Sega to make this like, this is the Alien game, we have to make this longer, or if Create Assembly was just so into what they were doing that they're like, we have to make it this long. This game can only be this long because we have to fit it all in. I don't know. I don't see what the appeal of the last half of it is. I don't know who got into that game and play tested it and said, yep, done, great, perfect. This is the length this game needs to be, because I don't see it. There are parts of it that are really great. There are parts of it that are really tense, but most of it happens early on. The face huggers are utter bullshit. I'm sorry. The one-hit garbage face huggers are awful. They are almost unnecessary in the game. Much like the later stuff with the Working Joes. There are things about the game I really hate. I hate some of the pacing elements. I hate how much you have to go find a locked door, go somewhere else to turn a power generator on, and go back to the same door. There's a part at the end of the game. Another thing that the game does that's frustrating, that doesn't actually respect your time, is that there's a point where you have to find an upgrade for your card, your reader or whatever, like your security reader, the thing you carry around, and it's right next to you. Rather than just like upgrade it, you have to like look for it, or you have to log into a computer to find a code when there's something right. Like, there are barriers placed in front of you just for the sake of having a barrier, not for the sake of plot. Not like the objectives that you have are so minuscule and short-sighted that you lose sight of like what the game's really about. And then they tack on an element of having Ripley, I guess the elder Ripley, Ellen Ripley, contact you. And what does that do in the game? Like, the whole reason the game exists is for you to like track down your mom, and it completely loses sight of that. Like, what is the last 2 hours about? I don't know. You finding this person you don't care about, getting off the ship, whatever. That's fine. Like, that's standard video game nonsense. But the fact that you don't really have an ultimate goal, and then it's just like it has like a gravity ending, whatever. I don't know. I'm really angry. I don't mean to be this mad. Like, I sound mad, and I kind of am. Like, I am mad that, like, why am I mad at a video game? I don't know. But I wanted to, like, really wanted to like this game. I gave it a shot. I gave it the shot. And I liked it. I defended it. I mean, there were times after I hit the point, like, once the game gets good, the game is amazing. Alien Isolation is so good at parts, like the best game this year at parts. There are parts of Alien Isolation that are game of the year. But just there are parts that are not. And I'm not going to belabor the point by saying I don't understand. Like, I guess I do. I mean, this is their big shot, Creative Assembly. I mean, this is their big shot to make a game like this. I don't know. I don't think it's quite successful. And I look forward to seeing if they make another game like this, if they can lop a little bit off of it and make a really compelling experience. And what's weird is this isn't a game where you cut off like an hour or 2 hours. This is a game that needs like 10 hours excavated out of it, like completely cut out of it. All of the like go find things and the mini games to unlock things, all of that could go away. All of that could absolutely go away and the game still be intact. Keep the stuff on the ship early on. Jump to the Nostromo, or don't, and in that game in like 10 hours, and you have Game of the Year. Like maybe cut a little bit off from the beginning too. I mean, I actually like the first few hours. That game did. Wow, Creative Assembly didn't know what they had on their hands and squandered, I think. And, who am I? Obviously, like, I don't make video games, but I feel like this game should be a lot shorter to be a contender for Game of the Year. To be even a good game. Like, this is not it's a good game. The weird thing is it's a good game. It's just way too long. Like, boring and tedious and frustrating for no reason for so long. Like, I want to look at Patrick Klepek's review of Alien Isolation. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to take a look at it though. I'm going to pull up the Principled Uncertainty logo so I can read so it doesn't look so dumb. All right, so I'm going to pull it up. He gave it 4 stars. I want to see the end. What does he say at the end? While not without its issues, Isolation is the best Alien game since Alien vs. Predator. Given what fans have put up with recently, that's not high praise, but Isolation moves the bar much higher. The story here is thin. The gameplay is simple. It's one note played over and over again, but it's one hell of a note. Man, I just don't agree. Okay. So, I don't know. I guess maybe I expected too much of it. Maybe I played too much of it today. Riot Pixels actually on Metacritic had a great. I kind of agree with this. Alien Isolation story will take you around 15 to 20 hours to complete, but spare yourself the bitter aftertaste of the second part of the game. Do this. After completing mission 10, quit the game and pretend that you've just seen a happy ending. Yeah. Let's see. GameSpot. It's the endless meandering in between that proves troublesome. Much of it's intended to build tension, but most of it falling victim to a never-ending sameness. I say never-ending, but in reality, Alien Isolation limps to its frustrating ending after many hours more than it can support. I think that's the perfect like consolidation of how I feel about it. So I'm going to leave it there. I mean, we're at almost 20 minutes. I'm not going to belabor it any longer. I was going to say at 10, but man, I just couldn't stop talking. There's so much that I actually thought the stuff with the Working Joes. Is it Working Joes or Average Joes? I can't remember now. I've called it both. The first tweet I sent said I think Average Joes, but I thought that stuff was actually some of the most compelling part of the game. Is like when you're dealing with all of the cyborgs. I guess not cyborgs, robots, helper bots. So I don't know, man. I'd say give it a shot. Play the first few hours of it, but you can't not finish it. The thing is, like, once you're in, like, once you play 10 hours a game, it's hard not to finish it. So I guess play it, finish it, and then tell me what you think. Email us at principledu@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter. We're at PU Podcast. Find us on Facebook. We're the Principled Uncertainty Podcast. So I'd really like to hear what people think about this game because I don't understand why it's getting. I mean, it's getting okay. I mean, it's an 80, which in video game reviews is like a C. So we'll see. I want to hear what you think. And so that's about it. This is Tyler for the Principled Uncertainty Podcast. We'll see you on next week's probably year-end episode. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next time. Principled Uncertainty. Do it.